It's REDLIPBLONDE. Sorry about my video. It's a little dark. Yeah, basically I did a series 1 through 10 on the spirit of Marilyn Monroe, seeking the truth. I basically said a prayer to our Lord and asked to find the truth from her own words. I've gotten a bunch of words, over 60, that led me down a path to all kinds of information I was not aware of about Marilyn Monroe. Not just her death, but the people she knew and personal places that she recognized in films and artists and photographers. So if you follow my series of videos, you'll be up to date on the information that I found. So this will be my last video on her. My next video series will be of Anna Nicole Smith, Through the Spirit. We'll see what she has to say. I have her information already. I just have to gather it together and do some research. So, continue on with Marilyn Monroe, from her own words. Through the name Milton Green, it came up with this court document, which is quite lengthy. So I'm just going to, in brief, summarize everything up. Marilyn Monroe's death was basically no suicide. Milton Green, Pat Newcomb, and the Strasberg were all, including a close friend who was an editor and publicist of a Flair magazine. I don't have her name in front of me, but she's listed on the videos. Were all connections who gained money off the death of Marilyn Monroe, and still are to this day. So I'm going to read you this court document I found. Never alone. The last video was the UFO report that I acknowledged through her was one of the reasons that her death occurred. It was a planned hit. So, here we go. Here's Green. Is definitely mentioned all over by her. Milton Green. And again, the Kennedys. And see my videos and you know. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. It's from Milton Green. Oops, sorry, my glasses are broken. Milton Green filed August 30th, 2012. Okay. It went to a circuit judge by Wardlaw, circuit judge. An enduring American celebrity, Marilyn Monroe continues to inspire both admiration and litigation a half-century after her death. At issue of whether appellants inherited So these court proceedings have been going on and on and on ownership of Marilyns, who owns what rights, da-da-da-da-da. But as I said in my former videos, it was through Marilyn that I've learned that your so-called agents, when you're a performer, singer, actress, actor, or just in the elite society, Congress, political issues, what have you, once you have these agencies working for you, they put in place a group like family that kind of guide you, and supposedly they're your friends that you can trust, which in turn are making millions off you while you're alive and, of course, after you're dead. And in my own opinion, if I was to go to Hollywood and be an actress or singer or had any talent to give, I would choose my own doctors, my own psychiatrist if needed, my own realtor. I would do my own business. I wouldn't have partners of an agent who recommends so-and-so, because I'm finding that there's a whole path of group of people that do this for a living, between the media, realtors, doctors, lawyers, courts, law, police, they all seem to be connected, certain agencies where they get away with making a fortune off you. And unbeknownst to you, you are unaware of this. And unfortunately, people that get too involved with people they don't know, who they think are their friends, use and abuse them, and sometimes end up suddenly disappeared or injured or killed for money reasons. And that's my whole theory after doing this whole adventure of Marilyn Monroe. It's unfortunate that she was blind because she didn't have a family to go to ask for support. The whole world was her family, and I do believe the fans were her best interest because they were pure, truth-seeking, honest, loving fans, and everyone around her was just a mirage who used and abused her, and that's the fact. Okay, so we'll continue with this case. With an appeal from the United States District Court of Central District of California, Margaret M. Morrow, District Judge presiding, argued and submitted October 13, 2011, and Pasadena, California, filed August 30, 2012, before Alfred T. Goodwin and Kim McLean, Wardlaw Circuit Judges, and William K. Sessions, the 3rd District Judge. Opinion by Judge Wardlaw. So, I'll start again. Wardlaw, Circuit Judge. This is his opinion. An enduring American celebrity, Marilyn Monroe, continues to inspire both admiration and litigation a half-century after her death. An issue at whether appellants inherited a right of publicity, which was created and deemed posthumous by the states of California and Indiana decades after her death, through a residential clause of her last will and testament. The will was subject to probate in the state of New York, which does not recognize a posthumous right of publicity. The issues of the appellant's rights turns to whether Monroe was domiciled in California or New York at the time of her death. We conclude that because Monroe's executors, which were Mr. Green, and the Slasbergs, and Pat Newcomb, we concluded that Miss Monroe's executors consistently represented during the probate proceedings and elsewhere that she was domiciled in New York at her death to avoid payment of California estate taxes. I mentioned that earlier. Any way to maneuver the system so that all the money can be put in their pockets so they don't have to spend a penny. And Green, incidentally, stated he wasn't a co-owner of Marilyn Productions, and suddenly he is half-owner, so he could get his way in there to get 75% of her money. Anyway, among other things, appellants are judicially estopped from asserting California's phosphorus rights of publicity. We therefore affirm the district court's ordering so holding. Following her divorce from Arthur Miller while in New York, Marilyn Monroe executed a last will and testament on January 14, 1961. She named New York attorney Aaron Frosch executor. She then traveled to California in the spring of '61, and she first stayed in a hotel and moved to a rental apartment, and again moved to a home in Brentwood, which she purchased in 1962, which, by the way, was from her advice from her psychiatrist, who had the same layout as the Brentwood estate as he did his own. Think about that. Okay, so, in any case, that she purchased in '62. In April of '62, Monroe began filming Something's Got to Give in 20th Century Fox. Remember, 20th Century Fox had big issues with Marilyn, not showing up, going to Kennedy's to do this singing happy birthday. They were in no best interest of Marilyn. And remember, her secretary that she hired that she could not stand, who also worked through the media, had gotten her job back at Fox, and then, of course, dying, and Fox made sure they got their money and got the time that was due, And who benefited from it? Not Marilyn. Everyone else did. She got killed. Okay, anyway. Fox fired her during filming in June for repeated absences and tardiness. Monroe was found dead in her Brentwood home on August 5th. She maintained her New York apartment and staff throughout the period. Okay, who sent her the staff? We have people that she's given names to, that she disliked, that she worked with, who had reasons to want to stay close to Marilyn. These are all affiliates of, they're like a mob itself. Hollywood cult. They all are connected of running the show of Marilyn. Her secretaries, her maids, her lawyers, her doctors, her psychiatrists, they're all interconnected. They were all sent there for a reason. It wasn't one person. They all worked as a group. Okay? Keep that in mind, folks. Don't ever go to Hollywood. Unless you're going to practice yourself and have your own agents that you know personally, or you're going to get screwed or probably killed at some point if you don't go along with the game. That's my own opinion. But I'll continue. Consistent with New York law, the New York Surrogates Court admitted Monroe will to probate on October 30th, 1962. Frosch, who drafted the will, yes, I can imagine, I'm sure he put his name in there. He is someone that is unpredictable and scumbag to me. That's what I found. Okay, that's my own personal opinion. There's a lot of really scumbags involved with Marilyn. But I didn't know this till she gave names, but I'm seeing a true picture now, and it's disgusting. It really is. The best thing you can do, folks, is don't watch Hollywood movies. Don't go to the movie theaters and pay money to see this crap. Because you're just condoning this mob, clan, cult. Continue killing beautiful artists. Honestly, it's sickening. I'll go on. Frosch was drafted the will, served as the executor of the estate from the time until his death in '89. Of course, that'll be transferred over to someone else. The will sets forth several requests, but does not explicitly address the right of publicity asserted here. Assuming that such rights exist, it could pass, if at all, through only the will's residual clause, which distributed the residue and remainder of Monroe's estate as follows. A. To Marilyns, another. I can't even say. Reese, scumbag. This is a woman who is no good in my eyes. The sum of $40,000, 25% of the total remainder of the estate, which shall be lesser. And Dr. Marilyns, Chris had did come up. She was another person that worked along with Monroe, who was another dirtbag. To be used for her as set forth in artificial fifth of my last will and testament, and Lee Strasberg. Of course, the Strasbergs, the Jewish people that are so close to Marilyn, still receiving money. Unbelievable. Marilyns, Monroe's private secretary, who, quote, quote, is part of the elite cult, inherited the sum of $40,000 because the residential estate was significantly greater than $160,000. The estate distributed 25% of the remainder to Mr. Marianne Chris, another psychiatrist, for the further of the work of such psychiatric institutions or group as she shall elect, and Chris passed away in 1980, bequeathing her inheritances of the Monroe estate to the Hampstead Child Therapy Clinic of London. Queen Elizabeth, hello. High elite socialites, hello. It's one big conspiracy, folks. Okay. Now the Anna Freud Center for the Psychosomatic Study of Treatment of Children, Frosch appropriated 75% of the remainder of the estate to Lee Strasberg. Monroe's acting coach and close friend, which they were not, poor Marilyn, was blinded by the thieves, murderers. Okay. Lee Strasberg died in '82, leaving his share of Monroe's estate to his wife, Anna Strasberg. Following Frosch's death in '89, the surrogate court appointed Anna Strasberg, another little Jewish girl who wanted to carry on the tradition of stealing these beautiful, talented people's money and carrying on through the Illuminati all the way to England. It's one big cult. Every person has you're the puppet and they're the master. And Marilyn, unfortunately, was caught up in the cult. She didn't have the knowledge, and she didn't have the knowledge to know who was sent to her for a reason. And it's all about money and gain. Okay, well anyways, the court appointed Anna Strasberg executor of the Monroe estate in 2001. Geez, this is going on a long time, folks. What about her mother? Question that. And even if her mother died, shouldn't the money just be put back into her fans, distributed to people that are homeless, hungry, charitable causes, not these money, hunger, clans, Illuminati, jokesters, murderers, and thieves, lawyers, doctors, courts, and police. Come on. Alright, not saying they're all bad, but obviously there's definitely a cult involved. Well, in 2001, the surrogate's court decreed the estate settled and authorized the estate to transfer all remaining assets to Marilyn Monroe, LLC, to a newly formed Delaware Limited Liability Company. Where do these companies come from? Managed by Anna Strasberg. Anna Strasberg and Anna Freud Center are the members of Marilyn Monroe, holding 75%, 25% membership interest. They're making up a membership, Anna Freud Center, and still collecting money on their death. During the 40-year probate proceedings, Frosch and Passney, the executor of the estate, Julia, your dinner plate's on the stove. Chicken, roll, and what? The little plate right on the stove. It's got all your dinner in it. Nice and warm. The judicial and quasi-judicial settings that Monroe was domiciled in New York when she died. In New York, Frosch, the later Anna Strasberg, represented to the surrogate's court that Monroe died at domiciliary of New York and California. Frosch also represented the California tax authorities that Monroe died domiciliary of New York. Because Monroe owned property in California when she died, her estate, represented by the California law firm of Gang, Ty, Rudin, and Brown, initiated auxiliary probate proceedings in Los Angeles Superior Court. Frosch successfully avoided substantial California state taxes by proving that Monroe was a person of New York, a resident of New York. On behalf of the Monroe estate, he sought a no-tax certificate from the inheritance tax appraiser. The tax appraiser required additional substantiation of Monroe's New York domicile to accept California's council representation, and she died a non-California resident. On April 24, 1964, Marilyn Brown, the estate's California councilor, wrote Frosch, seeking information to counteract the fact that Miss Monroe owned a home and actually was living in California at the time of her death, and that her mother was physically in California. Everyone's out to get her money. Okay, one minute she doesn't live in California. Whatever's convenient for the lawyers and the scumbags that are all part of this cliquey plan to take your money, basically. Disgusting. I'm going to continue on. California at the time of her death, and that her mother is physically in California. Brown further advised Frosch that it's important that he answer all the questions of the affidavit concerning residence. Of course, he's going to claim he's going to represent the mother to get her money, and he's really after the money. They don't give a shit about Marilyn's money. They don't give a shit about Marilyn. She's dead. They're still feuding over tax, trying to rip off, not paying taxes, and stealing billions of dollars from Marilyn Monroe, who she earned her whole life, for a dance to enjoy her work, and she was used and abused, chewed up and spit out, and murdered, and then be told that a blatant lie, that she had committed suicide through the media that's owned by this propaganda multi-machine that they use on every celebrity practically. In my opinion, poor Marilyn has been abused. I'm sorry. And she has really bad dirtbags between her lawyers and Marilyn Monroe Productions and the Strasbergs. I'm sure the Strasbergs at first were good, willing participants, but they are part of the system, folks. She was moved there to learn and to get money and pay funds to the Strasberg Corporation. If they were good, honest American citizens who knew Marilyn had died a fatal death, and to not draw this out over years over owning part of Marilyn, they should have forfeited their percent. No questions asked. There's no money in the world. If you're a dear friend, you wouldn't accept this, or you wouldn't even file in court for any monetary amount. Out of respect. But there is no respect in Hollywood, don't you know? But I'm going to continue on. Grosh provided Brown with a completed affidavit concerning residence and supporting affidavits from the Monroe intimates. Brown, in turn, sent the affidavits to the inheritance tax appraiser, representing that Miss Monroe was a non-resident of California back in '66. In the affidavit concerning residence, Grosh represented that Monroe filed her last tax return in New York City, April of '62, and she purchased her home in Los Angeles to live at while engaged in performing services in a motion picture. So it's back and forth. She lived in L.A. Did she stay there temporarily? Did she own it? All to evade paying taxes. Anyway, the next question which asked was, actually living at the time of her death, Grosh declared that Monroe was residing temporarily in Los Angeles while performing in it aforesaid and said fully furnished apartment in New York, which was her permanent residence. Grosh explained that Monroe resided temporarily in California, performing services as a motion picture actress for approximately 6 months prior. In response to a question at Monroe's business interests outside of California, Grosh attested that she was active as principal sole shareholder. Grosh attested this. A principal sole shareholder, an officer and director of Marilyn Monroe Productions, a New York corporation in New York City. But isn't it funny how suddenly he's getting 75% and avoiding having to pay taxes by saying later that she was a resident? Mr. Green, Mr. Bush, you're all dirt to me. In response to questions about the statements and acts by Monroe indicating her intended residence, Grosh elaborated that Monroe's actions before her death showed that she intended to remain a resident of New York. Okay, this goes back and forth, You get my gist, okay? There's at least 30 more pages. I can't go much longer. I'll continue, go to video 11, folks, for the rest of this court battle. It's just ridiculous, and what's really ridiculous is that these people are still making a lot of money on Monroe products. They own her lips, they own her eyes, they'll sell shares. It's disgusting. I would say boycott buying anything of Marilyn Monroe. Now that I know the truth, let her go rest. They've abused her enough, don't you think? Alright, go to video 10. Peace.